Hello everyone! For this performance task, I will be explaining the sum of the year's digit method of depreciation. I'll define it, discuss its key characteristics, and then walk you through a sample problem. So here are the lesson objectives. Defining SOYTD, identify the key formula components, calculate the SOYTD, solve annual depreciation expense, and create a full depreciation schedule. So what is SOTYD? An accelerated depreciation method where more depreciation expense is recognized in the early years of an asset's life and less in the later years. It's based on the assumption that assets are more productive when they are new. So, what is the sum of the year's digit method? In simple terms, it's an accelerated depreciation method. This means that instead of spreading the cost evenly over the asset's life like straight line method, SOTYD charges higher expense in the first few years and a lower expense later on. The logic is that most assets, like machinery or vehicle, provide more value and require fewer repairs when they are brand new. So our depreciation expense should reflect that higher initial usage. So here are the key components. First, cost, original purchase price, and salvage value. It is the estimated resale value at the end of its life. And here is the formula. Depreciable base is equals to cost minus salvage value. Another one is useful life or lowercase n. The number of years the asset is expected to be used. And these two are the SOYTD formula. First, we have the sum of the year's digits is equals to n times n plus 1 over 2. And the second one is depreciation expense for a given year is equals to remaining useful life over SOYTD multiplied by the depreciable base. To really understand SOYTD, we need to look at the first formula. First, we calculate the depreciable base, which is just the cost of the asset minus its salvage value. Next, we find the sum of the year's digits. If an asset has useful life of n years, you add up all the digits from n down to 1. The easy formula for this is n times n plus 1 divided by 2. Finally, for each year, the depreciation expense is calculated by taking the remaining useful life at the start of the year, dividing it by the SOYTD we just calculated, and then multiplying that fraction by the depreciable base. This fraction gets smaller each year, which is what creates the accelerating effect. So now, let's apply this to a sample problem. Company XYZ buys a machine for 100,000. The machine has an estimated useful life of 5 years. The estimated salvage value is 10,000. Calculate the depreciation expense for each year using the SOYTD method. So first, we calculate the depreciable base, which is that 100,000 minus 10,000. It gives us 90,000. This is the total amount we will depreciate over the 5 years. Next, we calculate the SOYTD. Our useful life is 5 years, so we plug it into the formula. 5 times 6 divided by 2 equals 30. You can double check it by adding 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, which also equals to 30. So for year 1, the remaining useful life is 5. So the fraction is 5 over 30. Multiply that by our depreciable base of 90,000 and we get a year 1 depreciation expense of 15,000. For year 2, the remaining life is now 4. The fraction is 4 over 30. So 4 over 30 times 90,000 is equals to 12,000. Let's continue this for year 3. Remaining useful life is 3. So the fraction is 3 over 30. So 3 over 30 times 90,000, it equals to 9,000. For year 4, the remaining useful life is 2. So the fraction is 2 over 30. So 2 over 30 times 90,000 is equals to 6,000. And finally, year 5. The remaining useful life is 1. So the fraction is 1 over 30. 1 over 30 times 90,000, it gives us 3,000. Notice how the expense decreases each year, 15,000, 12,000, 9,000, and so on. This is the accelerated pattern. Also, if we add up all the depreciation over the 5 years, it totals 90,000, which is exactly our depreciable base. This confirms our calculations are correct. Summary: SOTYD is an accelerated depreciation method. It results in higher expenses early, lower expenses later. It matches cost with utility for assets that lose value quickly. So to summarize, the sum of the years digit method is a form of accelerated depreciation that front loads the expense of an asset. It's particularly useful for assets that lose their value or productivity rapidly in the initial years.